When the world fell silent, Shaun and Liana Maguire raised their voices. As a partner at Sequoia Capital, Shaun helped shape the future of technology with investments in SpaceX, The Boring Company, and XAI. But at his core, he has always stood for values. In the wake of October 7th, when others hesitated, Shaun and Liana spoke out, boldly, clearly, and without apology. Their courage inspired students, professionals, and an entire generation to stand tall as proud Jews. For their clarity, conviction, and unwavering support for America, Israel, and the Jewish people, Chabad Young Professionals is proud to present Shaun and Liana Maguire with the Hero of Israel Award.
It is our distinct privilege to honor Liana and Shaun. And once again, I would like to read from the inscription. The Hero of Israel Award. It is our honor to present to Shaun and Liana Maguire, Kos Shel Bracha, the cup of blessing, V'harikosi lachem bracha ad bli dai. May the cup of your blessing overflow without measure, without limit. March 25th, 2025, the 25th of Adar, with love and admiration, Chabad Young Professionals.
All right, we're gonna try to keep you all entertained. Shalom, New York, what's up? Manishma. This is an extemporaneous speech, which are the most entertaining. Thrilled to be up here. F. Scott Fitzgerald has this quote that sign of first-rate intelligence is being able to hold simultaneously competing ideas in your head and still maintain the ability to function. I've always looked up to that quote, and I try to hold different ideas in my head. And so, to be honest, on the one hand, I'm an extreme capitalist, like Joe up there. But on the other hand, I'm kind of a kibitznik, and I view myself as just one of this large group of amazing people. And it's awkward for me to come up here. This is not, it's not how I normally function or what I would choose. After October 7th, I didn't want to be loud. It's better to be quiet and private, but I felt like I had something to say and kind of a moral obligation to speak up. Going into that, there's a bunch of things that were happening in the background. One is, and it's really funny to be here with Adam and Joe, because Adam is one of my best friends, Dean Meyer, who I work with at Sequoia, one of my partners, is Dean's best friend. And Joe is someone that I've known for quite a while. He started Palantir, the leading defense tech company of the last 20 years. And I started like a little sister company after called Expanse. It was originally called Cadium, but we were kind of the second defense tech company in Silicon Valley after them, and not as successful, but still pretty successful. But it's a power law. They're 2 orders of magnitude more successful. But I've known Joe, and I've looked up to Joe for a long time, and it's really funny to be here with these groups of people. But something I have in common with Joe is we're both insanely curious, and my entire life I've really just been trying to understand everything possible that I can about the world, and that's everything from theoretical physics, where I have a PhD in quantum gravity from Caltech, to anti-Semitism, to the global economy, and really everything. And on anti-Semitism, I took it to a pretty extreme length. And one aspect of that is, and I've talked about this a couple times, but not too many times, I've been to over 100 countries, and I've been to over 30 Muslim majority countries. And I went with just genuine curiosity, really just trying to understand, like, what is this other culture? Where do people come from? What do they think of the Jews? All of this. And I would really try to immerse myself to the point that I've probably been to 7 or 8 Muslim countries during Ramadan. I would fast during the day, go to mosque at night, like literally break bread with people, not reveal I'm a Jew. This is part of the power of being a stealth Jew, of having the last name Maguire. People thought I was Irish, and therefore I was welcomed. But really, I was just trying to learn. And truly, like, from this approach of having this context around how I think the world works, and really understanding kind of the tactics that are at play. When October 7th happened, I happened to be in a position where I had sold a company, and therefore, if I got fired, I was okay with that. But I also felt like I kind of understood what was going to happen next. Like, to be very honest, and if you go back to my Twitter, I literally started tweeting at Shabbat on October 6th, within 20 minutes of rocket alert starting in Israel on October 7th. And like in the first couple days, I think I provided a lot of context of what was going to come and what was going to be misperceived. And I just, to everyone here, we're really at a crossroads moment in history, like in so many different ways, like in basically every way. And in my opinion, in a more profound way than has happened in many decades, maybe ever. We're at a crossroads in technology. I think that's pretty obvious, but I'm not sure everyone is aware of like how profound this is going to be. Like if you look back at the Industrial Revolution and what happened with steam engines and moving people from, subsistence farming and 80% of humans being farmers to working in factories and moving into cities, like it was a revolution in humanity. I believe that AI and then afterwards automation will do something similar. We're kind of at a crossover point between America and the East, and America has absolutely dominated the last, post-World War II era, and I deeply hope we dominate into the future, but our advantage is not as strong as it was, in the 90s. We've basically been depleting that advantage ever since. And so whenever you get powers that are closer to parity, this is usually when Jews have struggled in the world. Like if you look at almost any major incident of anti-Semitism at any point in history, almost all of them have as a backdrop major change. And people talk about Jews being the canary in the coal mine. But on the other hand, as I said in the beginning, like you have to hold competing ideas in tension. I'm an unbelievable optimist. I really deeply believe in America. I believe in the West. I believe in Israel. I believe in all of us. I believe in Judaism. And I think that if we play our cards right the next decade, I think we're going to come out of this in a literal renaissance. But I don't think we can take that for granted. If you look at the past of anti-Semitism, it's pretty deeply coupled to the state of an economy somewhere, and like even bigger, like the state of an empire. I think one of the best things we can all do for multiple reasons is to fight for America, fight for the American economy, try to keep this country very strong. Like a strong, thriving economy doesn't leave much space for people to blame the Jews. And I think it also protects this amazing liberal order that we've had. And I don't mean liberal, I mean Western values, liberal ideals, freedom and democracy. I think that these are precious things that we can easily lose if we don't continue to fight for them. So anyways, after October 7th, I was in a position to speak up. I've been doing it ever since. People disagree with me all the time. I'm happy to debate specifics. But I think that I don't want to sugarcoat things. I think that things are more precarious than they've been in our lifetimes. And I think that we all need to recognize that and actually get involved. You need to fight for America. You need to try to make the economy better. You need to support Israel. You need to give to causes that matter. You need to try to raise children that know history. Like history is literally being rewritten before our eyes. in a way that was never possible before. Like before, you would have a book that was written in the past, and you could burn the book, but it's hard to rewrite the book. We live in a world with Wikipedia, where you can get you can have something that's been on the page of Wikipedia for years, and you can get a mob of people that go and edit the page, and that now becomes a de facto truth. And sure, you can look back, but it's just so much easier to do this, and you can enhance this with mobs of people, you can enhance this with AI. Literally, history is being rewritten before our eyes. We have to teach our kids history. We have to teach them the Jewish history. And I would say that a mistake that I think a lot of people make is they try to approach things only from the Jewish perspective. I think that's something that Joe and I have in common that is not, I don't think it's an accident that the two of us became two of the most outspoken people after October 7th, in that we both have mixed heritage. Both of our moms are Jewish and our dads were not. And for me, this gave me this powerful vantage point and empathy my whole life of trying to understand different perspectives. And I would encourage everyone here, the things that have been working in the past, we're entering a new era where we have to be more on our toes, more on our game. We have to know history. We have to know that things are being used against us and anticipating that. And really just understand that if we don't stick together, things are not going to go well. So anyways, I'm sorry for such a dreary statements. I'll go to a little bit of optimism, and I'll say on Israel, I've never been more optimistic about Israel. I understand that there's an incredibly challenging political environment internally right now. They have a deep state just like we do. They are in the middle of a war. Their economy is struggling as a result. A lot of people are unemployed. People are coming out of the army in debt. But if you look through the arc of history, when Israel was created, they didn't make anything themselves. They were utterly reliant on the outside world. Today, Israel is an energy exporter in the region, a water exporter in the region. They probably make 80 to 90% of the weapon systems they need. They're producing whizzes and I think much bigger companies in the future. Anyways, the country's getting to the point where it literally stands on its own 2 feet. It's exporting the most important cyber weapons in the world. This is a big part of why the Abraham Accords happened behind the scenes. I have extreme optimism that things are going to work out in Israel, and I also have extreme optimism that things are going to work out here in America. I think that all of this is happening in a moment where things aren't too late at all. And with some of the political things happening right now, I think it's very easy to read the media and assume the worst or assume bad intent. Joe and I both know Elon. I've gotten to see up close and personal with Doge, and it's been deeply politicized. But whatever you think of the people, I think what they're trying to do is heroic. They're literally trying to balance. They're literally trying to balance the American budget, and unfortunately, that requires a lot of very hard decisions and trade-offs, and even some good causes that get cut temporarily or maybe even permanently. But if we do this right, it's literally going to lead to a resilient America at the same time that we have a thriving, strong Israel. And I think that can literally lead to an American and Western renaissance. And I think the Jewish people will absolutely thrive in that situation. But if we don't get this right, if we continue with the status quo, if we go the way of Europe, if we let socialism rise up, if we think that all cultures are the same, things are not going to end well for the Jews here. And so now is the time to fight. It's one of the most important moments in history. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the honor, and great to be here.
Hi, everyone. I wasn't planning to speak tonight, but I thought it's so important to say thank you to Chabad. Our son goes to a Chabad preschool in West Hollywood, and part of the reason Shaun and I made that decision is because it's so important for people to be raised with the understanding of who they are. My story is not unlike probably everyone in this room. My parents fled Iran when they were young because of religious persecution, and I'm sure that 99% of the people in this room had a similar story 1 or 2 generations ago. Shaun and I very much feel that it's our time to fight so that that does not repeat itself in one of the greatest countries that have ever existed, the United States of America. And here we get to enjoy this incredible freedom, but only if we fight for it. And that only starts with knowing who you are and being able to stand up for yourself. And thank God. And thank God there are organizations like this to bring people together and to allow us to have the confidence to know who we are and take pride in our authentic and joyful Judaism. So thank you.